Good morning, pre-algebra people. Right now, I am out at the golf course, so we are doing fractions, decimals, and percents today. So we're going to start out with a percent, and we have to change that into a decimal. So anytime you change a percent into a decimal, what we need to do is move the decimal point 2 places to the left when we're going from a percent to a decimal. So 80% is like 80.0%. 80% and 80.0% are the same thing. When we change it to the decimal, we go 1, 2 places. So as a decimal, 80% is 0.8. So you move the percent, move the decimal and the percent 2 places to the left, and then it becomes a decimal. So if we have 112.4%, what I'll do is move the decimal 1, 2 places to the left, and that is equal to 1.124. If you have 0.34%, you still have to go to the left. So I'm going to add another 0 on here and go 1, 2. So then it's 0.0034. The percent 0.34 equals the decimal 0.0034. So if we have 5%, the decimal's right here at the start. We put a 0 in front and move it 2 places. So 5% is 0.05. So that's making a percent into a decimal. Now when we go from a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right and add a percent symbol. So when we make a decimal into percent, so the decimal might be 0.56. When we change it to a percent, we go 1, 2 places to the right, so it's 56%. If we have 5.2 as a decimal, I go 1, 2 places to the right. Since there's nothing there, I have to put a 0 in there. So that becomes 520%. If we have 0.07, 2 places to the right, 1, 2, 2 places to the right, gives me 7%. If we have 0.0043, and I want to go 2 places to the right, 1, 2. That's 0.43%. So, what have we learned so far? Well, when we make a percent to a decimal, move the decimal 2 places to the left. When we make a decimal to a percent, move decimal 2 places to the right. Okay? All right. Then we're going to make percents into fractions. So to do that, we're going to put the number over 100. So let's say we have 10%. That's the same as 10 over 100, and you're going to reduce that to 1/10. Your calculator will reduce it for you once you get it into fraction form by putting the A, B over C. So if we have 95%, that's 95 over 100, which your calculator will tell you is 19/20. If we have 33.3 repeating percent, we have 33.3 repeating over 100. Now, here's where this really doesn't work very well, because I have a repeating on top and don't have a repeating on the bottom. Okay? What we have to figure out is we need to really change this into a decimal instead of a fraction first. So making it a decimal, I move it 2 places to the right, or 2 places to the left, 1, 2. So it's 0.333 repeating, which makes it 0.3 repeating. So if it's 0.3 repeating, remember how we changed that into a fraction? We said, well, x equals 0.3 repeating, and since there's 1 repeating, we go 10x. So that's 3.3 repeating, and we subtract. So 9x equals 3, divide by 9, x equals 1/3. So this percent as a fraction is 1/3. Let's do one more repeating decimal one. Let's do 55.5 repeating percent. So that as a decimal, when you have a repeating, you got to change it to a decimal first. So it's 0.555 repeating, which is 0.5 repeating. So x equals 0.5 repeating. So 10x equals 5.5 repeating. And we subtract. 10 minus 1 is 9x equals 5. So this is 5/9. So 55.5 repeating is 5/9. Now, to change fractions into a percent, if we have like 3/4 and I want to change that to a percent, I need to change that into a decimal first. This is 0.75 as a decimal. Because if we take the top divided by the bottom, we get 0.75. And then to change a decimal into a percent, move the 2 places to the right, it's 75%. If we have 1/3, that is 0.3 repeating. You can do that on your calculator. Take 1 divided by 3, and you get 0.3 repeating. And so then, that's 33.3 repeating percent. Okay, we can't use a repeating symbol until after the decimal point, so that's why we do it that way. If we have 2 5/8, remember that's 2 plus 5/8, which is 2 plus 0.625, which is 2.625 as a decimal. And when we change it to a percent, we move it 2 places to the right. So it's 262.5%. Okay, so that's changing fractions to a percent. So when you change a fraction to a percent, change to a decimal first, then change it to a percent. So if we have a percent to a fraction, we put the number over 100. And then you simplify it. So those are the things we're doing. Mr. Malone will hand out the worksheet. And we will see you guys on Wednesday of next week. Okay? Have a good Labor Day weekend. Get your worksheet done, please.